Hey, what's up guys, it's Uchiha here, back with the next part of What If Naruto was raised by Jiraya and Tsunade. And before continuing this part, I would like you to know that I will be uploading the next part of What If Naruto and Mother's Love as well today, because many of you guys wanted me to continue it as well. And before continuing this, if you haven't, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. And without further ado, let's continue our story. Everybody listen intently to the teacher as he reveals who will be their teammate for the foreseeable future. And without further ado, these are the team formations. Assault Squad: Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata Yuga, and Haku Yuki. Oh yeah! Naruto shouted as he grabbed both Haku and Hinata's in a hug on each arm. Haku merely chuckled while Hinata turned red as a tomato. I'm in the same team as Naruto-kun. I can't believe my luck, Hinata thought, unmolested by Naruto's arm wrapped around her. Naruto, enough! Iruka angrily shouted. Then he continued to read: Medical Squad, Sakura Haruno, Karin Uzumaki, and Sasuke Uchiha. Yeah, I'm with Sasuke-kun. Both Sakura and Karin gushed at the same time, noticing what just happened. They glared and hissed at each other. There was a time I would have killed to be in the same team as Sasuke. Now I feel like I'm lucky I'm not with him. Come on, Sakura, can't you see he's dangerous? And not in a kinky way, thought while she glanced at both Sakura and Sasuke. Sasuke raised his hand. Hiroka Sensei, there is some kind of mistake here. Not only I'm not a medic, but there is no way I can be in the same team as those two. I mean, I can tolerate one, but two? Come on. I can assure you that there is no mistake, Sasuke. If you have anything question or anything else to say, take it with your Jonin Sensei when she arrives. Iruka then turned his eyes back to the list. Animal Squad: Kiba, Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, and Tamaki. I'm with the Fleabag? I demand another team, Tamaki said as she looked at Kiba in disgust. You should feel honored to be in the same team as me. Apprentice of a crazy cat lady, Kiba spat back. Shino didn't say anything, just let out a long sigh. Iruka frowned and pinched the bridge of his nose. Oh, on second thought, I'm glad you guys are now somebody else's problem. And lastly, Tactical Squad: Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, and Inuyama Naka. Shikamaru high-fived Choji without either of them had to turn at each other. Those are the teams. If you have a problem with them, go complain to the Hokage. Now wait here, your Jonin senses had been warned and will come to pick you up anytime, Iruka announced before leaving the classroom. 5 minutes later, just as the teacher had said, a Jonin entered the room, a black-haired woman that Naruto and, to a lesser extent, Sasuke knew very well. Hey, Shizune-chan, Naruto enthusiastically called, waving at her. Are you Jonin Sensei? Shizune smiled at him. Yes, I thought it would be a nice experience for me. That is awesome. Are you my team sensei? I'm afraid not, Naruto-kun. It is forbidden for a Jonin Sensei to be a team sensei with a close relative on it. Noticing that Naruto disappointed, Shino added, but don't worry, I know your sensei and I'm sure you like her. Now, member of this medical squad, can you come with me? Sasuke, Sakura, and Karin got up from their seats and followed the black-haired Konoichi out of the class. Of course, Konoha's second best medic would be the leader of the medical squad, Sakura thought in realization. 10 minutes later, two Jonin arrived at the same time. One of them was a tall man with short, spiky black hair and a beard of the same color and tan skin. He had a cigarette on his mouth. The other was a woman with long raven hair and deep crimson eyes that could be easily mistaken for a Sharingan. Tactical Squad, with me, the man said. Assault Squad, with me, now, the woman said. Both of the teams got up from their seats and followed their sensei out of the classroom, leaving the members of the Animal Squad alone. An hour later, I believe they forgot about us, Kiba complained. Akamaru barked in agreement. Maybe our sensei is late, Tamaki said. No, late would be 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, the other senseis only took 10 minutes to arrive, while we have to wait for almost an hour. I suggest patience, Shino spoke. This man is a Jonin and thus somebody serious worth of his rank. I'm positive that he will have an acceptable reason for not being here. 2 hours later, Tamaki was asleep on her desk. Kiba was groaning in annoyance. Where the hell is this guy? Ugh. Regardless of what I said before, I'm starting to believe that either our sensei forgot about us or the Hokage forgot to tell him about us. In either case, an acceptable behavior for either of our sensei or the Hokage. Shino commented, a little irritated, seeping through his usual stoic monotone tone. The moment the door opened, revealing a tall man with silver colored, gravity defying hair, whose lower part of his face was covered by a mask. Yo, the man non-nakedly said. You're late! Kiba yelled at the man, abruptly waking Tamaki up. Oh, sorry about that. I kinda forgot how to arrive here. You know, it's been a while since I was an academy student. The man said, giving the Genin a nice smile. I believe that you're the animal squad. By virtue of being the only remaining team present, yes, we are, Shino replied. Alright, then come with me. And once again, sorry for being late. It will never happen again. The three Genin had the impression that this was a huge lie. Link break. Training ground 10. Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino were sitting on the grass looking at the tall bearded man in front of them, who had informed that the training ground would be now where they will be training from now onwards as a team. Alright, before I explain you the role of this team as a whole, why don't you introduce yourself to each other? You know, to be acquainted betterly, the man said as he gave his cigarette a puff. I'll start. My name is Asuma Saratobi. I like to train, hang out with my friends, and play shogi. Shikamaru perked up on hearing this. I dislike bullies and those who doesn't take their roles as a ninja seriously. My dream is to make a name for myself, marry a nice woman, and start a family. It was Ino who perked up upon hearing the last bit of information. Her mouth curved into a huge smile. Do you have anybody in mind already? I don't think I have to tell you that, Asuma replied. Your grin grew wider. That means yes then. Was that a pretty woman that came with you? I noticed that she looks at you and you were shooting at her. Man, if I knew that this girl was so much into gossiping, I would have my trap shut. Asuma thought. Why don't you share something about you? The way we should even know. Why, of course, Ino chirped. My name is Ino Yamanaka, future heir of the Yamanaka clan. Once I'm 18, I like shopping and gossiping. Her face considered sour before continuing. I dislike traitors and murderers, and my dream is to become a great Konoichi so I can lead my clan properly so we can keep Konoha safe from them in the future. Asuma remembered the incident that Ino lost her dad during the Uchiha insurrection. While she didn't make any specific references, it was easy to guess who she was talking and thinking about when she was referring to traitors and murderers. If you work hard, I'm sure you'll achieve your dream. Asuma then turned to Choji, who was munching some chips, and nodded at him. The Akamichi took a hint. My name is Choji Akamichi. Eating is what I like the most. While I have some favorite foods, I also open to taste new things. I dislike people who judge others based on their appearances, and my dream is to become a great ninja just like my father. Well, maybe you could moderate a little on the food if you want to achieve that goal, Asuma said, making Choji to frown at him, but didn't stop eating his chips. The Jonin then stared at Shikamaru, who replied with a long sigh. My name is Shikamaru Nara. I like playing shogi and watching the clouds. I dislike, well, pretty much anything that requires some sort of physical effort on my part, if it's not a life or death situation. And my dream for the future, yes, it would be to have a quiet life divided of complications and maybe a family as well. Interesting. Maybe you should play a shogi game with me sometimes, Asuma said, earning a shrug from Shikamaru as if saying, sure, why not? And maybe I could do something about the laziness of yours. Shikamaru gave another shrug, this one saying, you're welcome to try. Alright, so the four of us, the tactical squad. The role of this squad will be taking care of the missions the other specialized teams wouldn't be qualified for, such as infiltration, reconnaissance, capture, dealing with enemies that won't go down with brute force, and so on. It is just no coincidence that you three are chosen for this squad. Members of Nara, Akamichi, and Yamanaka clans being on the same team is a tradition that goes back 15 generations, but I'm sure you're already aware about that. Now I must tell you something, despite what Iruka might have told you, you're not getting already. That aren't allowed. What? From Ino and Choji, and a soft A from Shikamaru. Before you officially get it, I must give you my approval, and before I can do that, I have to test you first. What kind of test is about to be, Asuma Sensei? Choji asked after apparently finishing his bag of chips. A simple spar. You three against me? The teamwork of your three clans is downright legendary, and I want to check if you going to live up to that legend. Asuma explained before finishing his cigarette, dropping it at his feet and stepping on it to put it out completely. The three Genin got on their feet and prepared for the fight. Link break. Training ground 9. Just like Asuma's team, Shizune's team were sitting in front of the sensei, though in their case, they were sitting on a makeshift bench made out of fallen tree. Sasuke in the middle, while Sakura and Karin on each side. And just like Asuma, Shizune proposed to introduce themselves to each other. My name is Shizune Kato. I like medicine, helping others, cute animals, and visit cultural heritage sites. I dislike drunks and gamblers. My dream is to become a great Konoichi and live up to Tsunade-sama's legacy. Well, now you know a little more about me, the adult medic ninja said with a warm smile. Who wants to go next? Sakura cleared her throat. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like, cute boys, she said, glancing at Sasuke, who didn't react. I also like medicine. I dislike people who judge others without getting to know them, and my dream is to prove that I can become a great Konoichi despite not being born into a ninja clan. Without waiting for Shizune to say anything, Karin started to introduce herself, so slightly upset that Sakura got to introduce herself first. My name is Karin Uzumaki. I like perfumes, medicine, and having a permanent home. I dislike rude peoples. My dream is to restore my clan to its former glory and be strong enough so I don't have to worry about people wanting to hurt me or my family. Shizune looked at them and nodded with a smile, then looked at Sasuke, who groaned in return. Let's get over with this. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I like training, getting stronger, and when I'm not doing that, I like to take long walks. I dislike people who hurt those I care about, and my dream is to become the strongest ninja in this village that has ever seen, as well as to restore the honor of my clan. Well, now that we all know a little more about each other, how about I explain you the roles of this team? Shizune asked. Sasuke raised his hand. Yes, Sasuke, this is a medical squad, and I can see that you, Sakura, and Karin are a medic, but I'm not a medic. Shouldn't someone like Ino or Hinata be here instead of me? I think I belong to the assault squad, or even tactical squad. Clearly, there has to be some kind of mistake, as this team is not right. Shirasama told me you were said that, and no, there were no mistakes in the team placement. If you allow me to explain how this team will work, you'll understand why you're here instead of a more offensive-oriented team. You have my attention then. Alright, medical squad is mostly search and rescue team. Our duty includes searching disappeared people, healing the wounds, and rescue people from dangerous areas. Among other people, when working along other squads, our role will be to support them. Now, Sasuke, as for your presence here, you'll see for obvious reasons medics tend to be the first ones being targeted by the enemy's forces, since most of the time medics will be healing and assigning as others and assistance. They will be unable to defend themselves and thus vulnerable to enemies' attack. Sakura and Karin imagined a chibi version of themselves healing a random Konoha ninja only to be ambushed by an enemy who stabbed them in multiple times in the back, making their spirits leave their lifeless bodies. If that happens, not only will we lose a medic, but the person he or she will be healing. Your role is to make sure that such thing never happens. So I'm an escort, Uchiha asked. Exactly. I'm glad you got it. Sakura and Karin replied the same scenario as before in their mind, except this time Chibi Sasuke appeared and defeated the enemy ninja before he could harm either of them, and posed heroically. Sakura and Karin stared at Sasuke with heart in their eyes, as the wounded ninja they were treating died due to lack of medical assistance caused the spirit to leave his body. However, there is something you should know. You're not a genin yet. Shizune revealed, much to the shock of her students. You still need to go through one last test to determine if you're worthy of being part of this team. If you fail, you will be sent back to the academy. Sasuke's initial shock was short-lived. I'll say quite a few tests already. I'm not afraid to take one more. Sasuke-kun is right. Whatever you have planned, we can go through it. Sakura added. Eh? What did she say? Karin said. Alright. See this small forest behind me? Shizune asked, motioning back. There is a medical training dummy inside, somewhere among the trees. You three are tasked to find the dummy, treat its injury, then bring it here. I will attack you from time to time, but don't worry, I will hold back. Now go. The two girls and the boy rushed into the forest. Link break, training ground 7. Just like the two teams before, Kakashi asked the Genins to introduce themselves. Why don't you introduce yourself first? Tamaki suggested. Alright, I guess that is fair. My name is Kakashi Hatake. I like many things, and for things I dislike, I don't feel like talking about them. And my dream? Well, I have dream just like everybody else. There, now you go. I finished my introduction. Wow, not only he absolutely late, but he doesn't tell anything about us rather than his name. Kiba snarled. Bradley Akamaru growled at, well, excuse me, Kakashi-sensei, but you can't expect us to tell you personal information about us if you're not willing to share anything about yours with us in return. Why? Because, while trust is important on team, trust is also a two-way road. You can't ask for trust if you don't trust others yourself, Shino explained. Kakashi stared at him for a few seconds as he proceeded to bug users' elaborate rant. How old are you again? 12. But I failed to see how that relevant to the matter at hand. Tamaki shifted in her seat and looked at Shino. I believe Kakashi-sensei thinks you do not speak like a kid our age should. There is absolutely nothing wrong with my manners of speech, and if you think there is something wrong, then the kids like our age usually say, deal with it. Kashi let out a sigh. Okay, that's smart. Over again. And let's start over again. My name is Kakashi Harake. I like books, dogs, and trainings. This elicited a smirk from Kiba in the front of Tamaki. It is like people who abandon their comrades, and my dream, well, I'm not entirely sure. Guess it would be to make up from all my mistakes I made in the past and all the people I failed. There, are you happy now? What mistakes? Tamaki asked, leaning forward. What people you failed? Kiba asked interestingly as well. Sorry, that all you going to get from me right now. So don't push your luck. Well, Kiba, why don't you introduce yourself? Alright, my name is Kiba Inuzuka, and this is my best friend, Akamaru. Akamaru happily barked from being acknowledged. I like dogs, taking long walks, running, and meat. I dislike cats. Kiba shot a glare at Tamaki. The girl merely stuck her tongue out at him. And my dream is to reach higher than any Inuzuka ever had, like being Hokage. Interesting, was all that Kakashi said. He then motioned at the only girl in the group. Shall you introduce yourself? Sure, my name is Tamaki. I like playing with my cats, buying new clothes, and climbing high places. I dislike dogs, especially those who bark constantly the moment you get near them. And my dream is for one day to start a clan of my own and make a name for myself. Nice introduction, Kakashi said, with a trademark eye smile. Now, since that out of the way, let's... Actually, I believe I didn't introduce myself yet. Shino introduced. What? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I guess I'm not feeling that hot today. Kashi replied on his irritating jovial tone. You know, forgetting about one of your students is not a mark of a good sensei. Shino glared at Kakashi for being senseless behind from his shade. Never mind. My name is Shino Aburame. I like entomology, medicine, and nature. I dislike people who hate or kill insects for no reason. My dream is to discover a new or very rare species of insects as well as advancing the field of entomology. Okay, now that everybody has introduced themselves, let's get down to the business. Give me the name of the team. It should be obvious what you all have in common. Kiba has his dog. Shino has his insect. Tamaki, cats. Where are your cats, Tamaki? Tamaki half expected the question. I don't have them with me all the time. They're with grandma. If I need them, I call them with summoning jutsu. Interesting. So young and with a summoning contract. It's not that big. Tamaki said with a defensive wave of her head. Another kid of our class. Naruto can summon toads. What about you? For being the leader of the animal squad, you don't have any other animal either at your side. Summoning jutsu was all what Kakashi answered through. It was enough to satisfy students. Anyway, we're getting off track. For time is immemorable. Many ninjas had used animals as companions to aid them in battle. Regardless of how powerful a ninja becomes, there are abilities that he or she will never have, but animals do have. This leads my clans, such as the Inuzukas, to specially in breeding animals and develop fighting styles involving them. And thus the main role of the animal squad will be to take care of missions in which human ninjas could be insufficient, such as tracking, searching, or hiding objects, so on. Our second role will be offer support to other teams. So, do you have any questions? No? Okay, in that case, then you should know that you're not canon already. How can that be if you graduate from the academy? Shino asked, as he adjusted his glasses. Because the graduation, the academy is a prerequisite to make the real canon test, and if you fail, you'll go back to the academy. Oh, come on, you can't do that, Kiba protested, shaking his fist. Trust me, I can now. Let's process with the test. Kashi then pulled out 2 bells from his pocket. Do you know what this is? Link break. Training ground 8. Just like the 3 other teams, Naruto, Hinata, and Haku were sitting around their senseis, who was studying them intently. Well, look at that. This year was going to have not 1 but 2 Genin teams that are majorly female. It's good to see more female and women taking the path of ninja. Kurenai then stared at Naruto and smiled at him. Given that you were raised by the strongest Konoichi who ever lived, I'm sure you won't be any problem being the only boy in the team. However, much to her confusion, Naruto stared to Growth, the red-eyed woman frowned, and placed her hands on her hips. Do I have something funny, Naruto? As a matter of fact, you did, Naruto said between giggles. Kurenai Sensei, despite my appearance, you should know that I'm actually a boy. Hako interceded. Kurenai stared at the ice ninja for a few seconds, and as her words sunk in, her eyes grew while her eyes shrunk. A faint blush appeared on his face. Her hands then flew on her face. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. I mean, giving your name and the way you look, Kurenai spluttered. Haku, however, smiled. It's okay, Kurenai sensei. A lot of people mistake me for a girl. Guess that the way I dress doesn't help. If that happens often, then no wonder he doesn't look upset at all. I still can't believe I did that, the Jonin thought. It's more common than you think. When I went to Suna a few years ago, I also saw a guy who looked like a woman, Naruto shared in an apologetic tone. Okay, let's forget about this and how about we get to know each other better? I'll start. My name is Yuhi Kurenai. I like going out with my friends for a drink during the evening. I don't like people who think that I'm weak or useless just because I'm a woman. And my dream is to become a konoichi of renown like Tsunade-sama, or at least attain a level of skill close to her. Now that you know me, who wants to go next? Oh, me! Naruto said frantically, waving his hand at her. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I love ramen, learning new jutsus, gardening, my friends and my family. I dislike 3 minutes you have to wait for ramen to cook, as well as people who are mean to others. And my dream is to become the greatest Hokage who ever lived. Kurenai chuckled. And here I thought that my ambition were grandiose. Who wants to go now? I believe I will, Haku said. My name is Hakuyuki. I live in Konoha. I like Konoha, Yugao-san, Hayate-san, Zabuza-sama, and the friends I made at the academy. I don't like people who hate other for reasons outside their control. I don't mind people mistaking me for a girl, but as for recent, it's starting to become kind of annoying. My dream is to become Zabuza-sama's end the current Mizukage's tyranny and restore peace of the lands of water. Kurenai took a note of the girl-looking boy's words. His vocal loyalty towards the rogue swordsman was worrying, but then again, he said his skills and he liked Konoha. She decided not to worry about that for the time being and looked at the other members of her team that didn't introduce himself yet. Hi, my name is Hinata Yuga. I like... She trailed off, glancing quickly at Naruto while blushing a bit. Something both Kurenai and Hako noticed and Naruto missed. I like flowers, gardening, and hanging out with my friends. I dislike food and mean people, or as well as the division of my clan. My dream is to become a great konoichi so I can succeed my mother as a clan leader someday and help her to undo the rift in our clan. Kurenai smiled at a little Yuga introduction. Okay, now that introduction are over, I'll explain you the function of this team. As team implies for an offensive unit, with Hako focused on ninjutsu, Hinata on taijutsu, Naruto on a mix of both, and myself on genjutsu. Our job will be mostly focused on combat, pretty simple as you can see. Alright, where are we going to start doing missions first? Naruto asked. Oh, about that. Well, you see you're not Genin already. You still have to pass one more test of my choice. If you fail, you'll be sent back to the academy, Kurenai answered. Naruto took a few moments to process his senses words, but when he did, his reaction was both instant and predictable. What? Naruto's face soared. Then, if I don't pass this test, Zabuza-sama will go back to jail? Hey, don't give me those looks. I saw your academy profiles. They should be a piece of cake for you. So, what is going to happen in the test, Kurenai-sensei? Naruto asked. I'm glad you asked. Kurenai then produced a story scroll and unsealed an old rusty body armor. This body armor used to be blue, but the color was now almost completely faded. It had multiple dents and scratches, but what drew their attention was that their huge red and white blue eyes painted in the front and back of the armor. Kurenai started to put the armor on. For this time, you'll need to hit either of these bullseye with an weapon of your ninjutsu attack. You have 3 hours to give you guys a chance. I won't use ninjutsu or genjutsu. Any questions? Hinata raised her hand. The three of us have to hit you? Korone shook her head. No. If either of you hit the bullseye, all three will pass the exam. More questions? The Jonin asked. Her Genin raised hand but remained silent and nodded to themselves. Alright, in that case, let's just commence. Korone made a hand seal and she suddenly vanished as if she was made of dust. The hell? Very confused, Naruto asked. I believe that was a genjutsu. Hinata said, though it was more gas. Wait, so she wasn't even here to begin with? It seems so, Haku concluded as he got up and grabbed a handful of senbon. Come on, we need to pass the test. Yeah, but where did she go? We don't even know that, Naruto asked. My guess would be among the group of trees. Haku then turned to Hinata. Hinata-san, will you need your Byakugan to locate it? The Hyuga made a hand seal activate her dojutsu, Link Break. Just like Haku had guessed, Korone was hiding in the canopy of a big and lush tree. She felt a bit disappointed that neither of them noticed that. She had cast her genjutsu on them while they were talking. But then again, the kids weren't used to deal with these kinds of illusions. Unfortunately, as good as Jiraya's academy reform was, genjutsu was once again barely covered. And the little practice was more about dispelling them, casting them, and that's all. Anyway, she was sure she could teach at least one of her students the art of illusion, while Naruto's chakra control still needed some pushing before he could use the Genjutsu. Hinata and Haku were perfect, though she also discarded Hinata as when she remembered the Yuga Heiress was also training in elemental ninjutsu and medicines besides the gentle fist, leaving Haku, who seemed to focus mostly in ninjutsu, as the most suitable candidate. A whirling sound Korone identified as shuriken snapped her out of thoughts. She immediately jumped out of the branch she was resting on before the steel stars embedded themselves into the wood and landed on a small clearing. The three Genis appeared shortly afterward and surrounded her. Korone smirked. I must admit, you found me earlier than I thought. With Hinata's Byakugan, it was a piece of cake, Naruto said, as he made a hand seal. And with this passing, the exam will be easier ever. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 Naruto's clones appeared from smoke, forming a circle around the Genjutsu. Mr. Scatter her! Korone looked at them. Kunai in hand, all Naruto charged forward. Korone also pulled out two kunas of her hands and started to slash at the orange-clad clones while she dodged their most telegraphic swings. Some clones that did not charge pulled out some shurikens and threw them at her. Korone grabbed one of the clones and used him as a human shield while attacking the others. In a chaos moment, the clones were no more. Haku decided it was her turn to attack and threw a trio of senbons at his sensei. Korone turned around and deflected all of them with a kunai. From the corner of her eye, she saw Hinata ready to strike her with a palm strike. She grabbed Hinata's wrist, but before she could touch the Jonin, and threw her crashing against Naruto. Haku started to make hand seals, and before he could complete the sequence, Korone was already in front of him. The raven-haired woman sunk her knee into the ice ninja's gut, knocking the wind out of his stomach, and just like she did with Hinata, she grabbed his wrist and tossed the kimono-wearing boy against a tree. Such a disorganized attack. Korone shook her head in disappointment. You will need to do better than that if you don't want to return to Academy, she said before leaping away. Link break. After getting back on their feet, the three Genis decided to regroup and plan a better strategy. Given how attacking her at random produced such a disastrous result. Alright, anybody an idea? Naruto nodded. I believe that Hinata should attack her head on while we wait for an opening and try to attack her from distance. Hinata looked at Naruto with surprise. Me? Attack Korone Sensei? But why? Because you're the best at taijutsu here. It isn't obvious? Naruto explained. While you keep her distracted, Haku can attack her with ice needles and senbons and jutsus of her. I use my clones and ninjutsus. We will provide you cover as you get close to her, Haku added. Hinata looked at her teammates. They both were placing their trust in her. Despite Hinata wanting to protest, a part of her told her to keep going and that she could lead the team to success. Alright, the little Hyuga said, nodding. Scanning the area with her Byakugan, Hinata found Korone standing at a clearing surrounded by several trees. The perfect spot for an ambush, almost too perfect. While it smells like a trap, Hinata didn't see any. Or maybe she was taunting them by choosing such a disadvantageous terrain. Nevertheless, they decided to take the risk and advantage to attack. Haku was the one to initiate the attack. He took from his pouch a story scroll with water sealed on it. and used it to unseal its content. A large puddle was formed at its feet. Kornai didn't detect his presence yet, or she didn't, but pretended not to. Nevertheless, it was time to attack. Haku formed the required hand seals, ice release, piercing icicle shots. Using the water of the puddle, Haku formed several ice spears that floated above him and flew at Kornai. The revenant Kornoichi performed several backflips while avoiding the deadly ice attack. Naruto saw it as a perfect chance to attack. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Kornai found herself once again surrounded by orange-clad clones. All of them pulled out shurikens and tossed them at her. Kornai rolled into the ground, expectantly avoiding the ninja strikes, which ended up hitting the clones instead, dispelling them most effectively. Such reckless attacks, if those were of teammates instead of my mere clones. Kornai shook her head in disappointment as she quickly destroyed the remaining clones. Hinata, now! The last clone shouted before dispelling. The Yuga Heirs leaped from her hiding spot at the top of the tree and landed in front of Kornai. The two women started to trade blows. Thanks to Naruto and Haku, after attacking from afar, the Genjutsu mistress was forced to attack in defensive. Seeing an opening, Kornai kicked Hinata in the gut and dashed at Naruto, who was about to throw more shurikens at her. Kornai grabbed him by the wrist and tossed him against a tree. She was about to move towards Haku when the corner of her eye caught Hinata doing hand seals. Suddenly, Hinata's hand was crackling with electricity. The Yuga dashed at her as fast as she could. Lightning release. Thunder bomb! She combined the gentle fist with elemental manipulation? Amazing, these skills are surely something else. Kornai thought as she dodged Hinata electricity-enhanced palm strike. Unfortunately for her, her music made her fail to see that Naruto was on his feet again and making hand seals. Wind release. Cyclone vortex. Naruto thrusted both his hands forward, forming a cyclone-shaped gale. Despite pouring a lot of chakra into it, he didn't manage to make it as powerful as he wanted. Still, the clone of wind managed to almost push Kornai from her spot and distract her long enough for Hinata to hit her in the shoulder with a palm strike. The shoulder not only closed her tenketsu point, but also numbed her shoulder by electricity. Ah! Kornai shouted as she fell on her knee and instinctively grabbed her shoulder with the other hand. Now! Haku leaped from the behind and fired a barrage of sandbones at the Genjutsu mistress. Kornai tried to run as fast as she could, and while she managed to avoid most of them, a couple of soft thuds indicated that at least two of the needles found its mark. Ha! Yes, we did it! Naruto cheered, pumping his fist in the air. Haku and Hinata walked behind him. Kornai removed her armor and confirmed that two sandbones made to the bullseye on the armor's back. She sealed the armor again in the scroll and walked towards the three genin, who were still cheering for their victory. Upon seeing her hold her shoulder, Hinata immediately started to use the mystical palm jutsu on her. Congratulations, you three. You passed the test, Kornai praised, smiling. Now you are real ninjas, see? I told you that it wouldn't be that hard. And it was thanks to Hinata. Naruto claimed that patted Hinata's back. Told you could do it. Well, it was a team effort, plus it was Haku-kun who dealt with the killing blow. Hinata stuttered as she avoided her guys. Hinata is right, you passed the test because you worked together as a team should. Kornai interceded. So, that was the meaning of the test? To teach us the value of teamwork? Naruto asked. We already knew it. Yes, but that's not all. So far you only fought in friendly controlled spars and tossed kunas and shurikens at immobilized trees, stumps. This was meant to give you a taste of what will happen if you find out in a real battle. So, what do we do now? Haku asked. Take care of yourselves and rest for the day. Starting tomorrow, we will take missions at the morning, take a lunch break, and then spend a couple of hours in afternoon training. We won't do anything, neither missions or training during the weekend, but please keep training on your own those days as well. Kornai explained. Meet me tomorrow at 9 in the morning in the academy for our first mission. Link break. Hokage Tower a few hours later. Jiraiya was sitting in his usual desk. In front of Jiraiya were the Jonin Sensei of the four Genin teams, ready to give their reports as well as Iruka. Tactical squad has my approval. While we still have some stuff to polish, especially regarding some of their personal priorities, I have faith that they will surpass all their predecessors, Asuma proudly said. Shizune was the next to talk. Medical squad is also of my approval. All of them know their roles and they supplied into them perfectly. Maybe the teamwork could use some improvement, but in the future they'll be invaluable asset. Animal squad passed the test. Though barely, Kashi mentioned. They do have a lot of potential, but they still need to work a lot of work at that. Assault Squad has my approval as well. They both have talent and barely need any incentive to work as a team. I just can't wait to see them in action, Kurna said. Jira smiled, clearly pleased at turns of events, and turned to Iruka. What about that? For the first time in Konoha history, the true Genin test has a 100% approval rate, as opposed to past 30%. The results speak for themselves. Your educational reform was truly brilliant, Hokage-sama, Iruka replied, and it's thanks to you and your fellow teachers for the great job you did preparing these kids for the future. Oh boy, I can't wait for the tuning exams to begin this year. That will be in 3 months. Do you think they will be ready until then? Iruka inquired. Well, their abilities are impressive. There's no way they can't get enough experience in such short time. Have a little faith in them, Iruka. The results might surprise you. Now, if there's nothing else to discuss, you're dismissed. After 4 Jonins and a single Chunin left the office, a pair of Anbu wearing masks of an owl and a tiger brought yet another Jonin. One Jiraiya lost had seen 4 years ago. Well. Jiraiya looked at his pal and said, So Zabuza, according to this report, except for getting a couple of fights during your first year, your behavior has been excellent. Zabuza chuckled. Glad to know that repressing my killing intent wasn't an easy task, you know. Now that Haku successfully passed all the tests and became a Konoha ninja, you're to do the same if you want to. Start to pay your debt with Konoha? Jiraiya snapped his fingers, and one of the Anbu handed Zabuza a Konoha forehead protector and a flak jacket. While not mandatory, it will be mostly appreciated if you wore at least part of our official uniform. Reluctantly, Zabuza tied the headband around his forehead and put out the flak jacket. Oh, and I believe this is yours. Jiraiya then tossed Zabuza's cleaning scroll. Unsealing the scroll, Zabuza's eyes widened in surprise when he saw his executioner blade in his hands. You kept it all these years? I thought that you would have given it back to somebody else or the village. Eh? Konoha doesn't have much of the swords fighting tradition. It will be better in your hands. Now, are you ready to start working your ass off for the village? Sure, but first answer me some question. Jiraiya listened to Zabuza intently. Aren't you worried that once I get out of this village, I will never return? Jiraiya smirked in satisfaction. He was dying for Zabuza to make a question like that. Yes. I would be extremely imprudent on my part of letting you out of the village without some kind of leash, right? That's why, before taking you out of the prison, my Anbu put you to sleep and I craved a special seal on your chest. I can activate and get the seal to attack your heart. Zabuza raised a non-existent eyebrow and smirked under his mask. Right, and you expect me to believe that? If that's the case, then why don't you mind if I do? Jiraiya made a hand seal and the sudden Zabuza fell on his knees, his hand instinctively clutching his heart and chest. It felt as if an invisible hand was clutching his heart to pulp. Even if it was effective, was short-lived in consequence's word. As you can see, I can kill you whenever I want, with a mere hand gesture for a 15 kilometers radius. The seal is designed so that only reacts to my chakra, meaning that I am the only one who can activate or remove it. Well, guess that you could remove it if you find a seal master of my caliber or greater, but good luck with that. The seal is also linked to a special map which pinpoints your approximate location. As you can see, you can't escape from my grip and grasp. I will only remove the seal once you completed your probation. Now you're ready for your first mission? Panting heavily, Zabuza got back on his feet with the help of Anbu. I guess so. Good. Here it is. Zabra was tossed by the scroll. The curious swordsman unruffled the scroll and read it. His face morphed into a mask of incredibility. An errant mission? Is this some kind of joke? Jiraiya frowned at Zabuza. If it was a joke, you'll be rolling on the floor laughing because, besides being a talented writer, magnificent charmer, and a kick-ass ninja, I also happen to be a gifted comedian. This is a test. You'll be 4 years in prison, and I must check that your ability didn't get dull. I was in jail because you sent me there. Details. Now I'll bring in the client. Yes, Hokage-sama, the Anbu said before leaving. A minute later, he returned with a four-man client, a grey-haired, glass-wearing, middle-aged man who wore a sleeveless V-neck shirt with an obi, pant and a pair of sandals. He also carried a towel around his neck and wore a pointed hat on his head. There was a bottle of steak in his hand. Zabuza, this is Tazuna-san, master breed builder of renown. Your mission is to escort him to the homeland, land of waves, and protect him until he finishes the construction of the bridge he and his men are working on. I doubt this guy could even build a toy bridge. Zabuza skeptical mentioned as his eyes the visible inebriated man. Chirag ignored Zabuza's remark. Tazuna-san, this is Zabuza, one of our more recently recruited. You'll be safe along with him. The drunk bridge builder scanned Zabuza with his reddened eye, his mouth agape. He couldn't describe if he was more afraid of his alleged escort or the powerful man that was ahead of him. Well, guess that the Hokage wasn't lying when he promised me some muscular boy. You're scary. Tazuna slurred as he eyed Zabuza, his words being quoted in terror. Thanks, Zabuza replied, unable that Tazuna's words weren't a compliment. Now you should be better going. Good luck on your mission, Zabuza. Jiraya said, waving Zabuza by. Zabuza snarled before leaving and dragged a very scared Tazuna with him. As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys, and be ready for the next part of What If Naruto, a Mother's Love as well. And this is Apollo Uchiha, and I'm signing out.